Hello everyone, this is Navarsha Pipada, Assistant Professor, Department of CSE, Engineering College, Bikaner. So, in previous lectures, we have studied error control mechanisms of data link layer. So, one more functionality of data link layer is a flow control mechanism. So, there are many algorithms, or you can say many mechanisms used for this flow control. We'll study them one by one. Okay, so first one is framing. So what is framing? Basically it is also a functionality of data link layer. Basically a frame is nothing but the data at data link layer. So we have seen at different layers, the data, the notation of the data is different. Like in at network layer it is a packet, at transport layer it is a message. So at data link layer the data is known as frame. So basically what data link layer will do, whenever a data comes from physical layer, so it will collect the bits and it will convert the number, means it will, after collecting the bits, it will be, the bits will be converted into frame. Okay, then at the receiver side, okay, this is at the receiver side, physical layer is converted, physical layer bits are converted to frames. At the sender side, what happens, data comes from network layer to data link layer. So from network layer, we, as we know, at the network layer the data is known as packet. So at the send, what sender do is, what sender's data link layer do is, it divide the packet into frames. So division of that packet is known as frames. So that frame is the data for the data link layer. So data link layer can only recognize it, the packet is not recognized by data link layer because it is not supported. Only frames are supported at data link layer. So data link layer can recognize frames only. So okay, so what two types of framing is are there. See, whenever you are dividing the data, or you are combining the data, so into frames, so what you have to do is you have to differentiate between the frames, that is frame number 1, frame number 2, frame number 3. So how we can achieve this? So first one is your fixed size framing, and the next one is variable size framing. So in fixed size framing, the size itself is a delimiter. So you are not need to specify the end of the data, or end of the frame, or start of the frame. So in fixed size framing, what we do is generally we specify a counter value. So before the frame starts, we give a counter value to that frame. Let's suppose if we are giving 10 as a counter. So what receiver will do? Receiver will take this first, receiver will take this count 10, and then it will calculate, or it will take 10 bits as the frame number 1, and then again receiver will know, yes, these 10 bits belongs to frame number 1, and from the next bit it will take another frame. So we simply specify a count value if it is a fixed size. Basically in fixed size framing there is no need for count also, because receiver knows the size of the frame. Okay, so receiver can directly, it can check, yes, if the size is fixed and it is 10, so receiver will take the 10 bits and it will be considered as frame number 1. Again next 10 bits will be considered as frame number 2, like so on. Okay, but next we have variable size framing. So in variable size framing, receiver doesn't know about the starting and ending of the variable size. See that count algorithm, here also we can apply the count algorithm. We can for each and every frame we can give a count value and then a frame value, then a count value, then a frame value. So but what is the problem in this count algorithm? See, if we are sending the data via some untrustable network, so what may happen, untrustable channel basically, because when we are talking about data link layer, so we are not talking about networks. So via untrustable channel you are transmitting the data. So what may happen you are specifying a count value and then frame. So what may happen, if that at the untrustable channel some hacker or some intruder is there, intruder may change the count value. Okay, so if the count value itself is changed, the whole sequence will be dismissed. If 10 is taken as a 10 is means changed to 9, so what receiver will understand is 9 bits are of frame number 1, then from the next bit it will take the next frame, so the whole sequence will be dismissed. So for that purpose we will not take count. Generally we don't take this count variable. What we do is we set some boundaries using some flag value. So at the starting of the frame and ending of the frame, after the starting before the starting of the frame and after the ending of the frame, we specify a flag value, and that flag value indicates the starting and ending of any frame. Okay, so what first flag algorithm we use is character oriented protocol. So in this character oriented protocol, what we do is we simply give a character, means this data is here denoted as character, not bits. Okay, or character, or you can say byte. Okay, so here what we are doing, we are giving this flag value and this flag value. Okay, so this in character oriented protocol, this flag value is given any character which is not being used in the data. Okay, so next we have byte stuffing and unstuffing. So let's suppose whichever is the flag value you are giving, and that, okay, basically this character oriented protocol is used when it was previously used when we were only sending the data, means only text message were sent. We were not sending GIF, we are not sending any image, any video. Okay, so what we can do is whenever we are sending any text, so text is in form 10111 like this. So what we can so in flag we were taking any character value, because character is not being used in this data value. So we were taking any character value to represent starting and ending of a frame. Okay, so what is the problem here? Let's suppose if that particular character is being used as a data, then what you will do, whenever the receiver will see, let's suppose we are taking dollar as a starting and ending delimiter. So if dollar is also present in the data, so what receiver will understand, whenever the receiver see this dollar, and the receiver will understand that yes, this is ending of the frame, so it will take the next frame. So for that purpose, what we do is a special character known as escape is there. So whenever the starting ending delimiter is used as a data, before that delimiter we specify or we put a escape delimiter, or we write escape character before the flag. So this is particularly known as byte stuffing. So byte stuffing means what we are doing is we are taking the escape character. So it is a character is basically known as in terms of bytes. So we are doing character stuffing, or we can say byte stuffing. So we are stuffing as an escape character before a flag if it has to be treated as data. So like this we will write escape, then flag, then escape, then this escape is for what, and this okay, one more thing is there. Let's suppose if this escape itself is used as a data, so what you will do, before this escape we will again apply one more escape. So what receiver will do, whenever the first escape comes, receiver will simply discard it, and the next value will be taken as the data value. So if two escape are there, so you have to write between two escape, one escape, then one escape, then another escape, then another escape. So one escape receiver will discard, and the next value it will be taken as the data, and again one escape it will discard. Every first escape is discarded by the receiver. Okay, so this is how we so here extra two extra bytes are there. Okay, so this is the data from upper layer, and we have converted this into frame, and then again data to upper layer. Byte stuffing is the process of adding one extra byte whenever there is a flag or escape character in the text, means in the data. Okay, so next we have bit oriented protocol. In bit oriented protocol, what we do is, in a byte oriented protocol we were taking any character value as a flag. In bit oriented protocol we take a sequence of bits, because in whenever we have to send generally the data is not only the text. It is in today's world, it is mostly text, images, video, audio, etc. So character stuffing is not character oriented framing is not in use today. So we take bit oriented framing. So in bit oriented framing, generally a sequence of 8 bit is taken as the as a flag. So this is the sequence. Generally we follow the sequence. You can change also. Why? There is a reason for taking this particular sequence, because they say that 6 time occurrence of one, means 6 consecutive occurrence of one as a data is there is very less chance of occurring this as a data. So that's why they have taken. We will see if it's a data, then how to deal it, we will see it. Okay, so this is a flag, this is header, this is trailer, and this is the data. So what you will do is, this is starting flag and this is ending flag. So it will be this whole will be taken as a frame. Bit stuffing is a process of adding one extra zero. So what is bit stuffing? Let's suppose if this particular sequence comes as a data, then what you will do? So what we will do is, we will apply bit stuffing. So bit stuffing is nothing but, whenever this particular is string is comes as a data, so what we do, we after see here we are 6 consecutive ones are there. So bit stuffing is nothing but, whenever 5 consecutive ones comes together, then after 5 ones you put a 0. Okay, so after 5 ones you put a 0, and that 0 is known as bit stuffing. So what receiver will see, if the receiver see, if we write this as it is, if we write this as a data, so receiver may understand that this is the end delimiter, and this will not be taken as a data. So what we do is, whenever this comes as a data, after every fifth consecutive one, we put a 0. Okay, so what receiver will do, whenever there is 5 consecutive one, the next 0 will be discarded. It will be always discarded. Okay, so bit stuffing is the process of adding one extra 0 whenever 5 consecutive ones follow a 0 in the data, so that the receiver does not mistake the pattern this for a flag. Okay, so this is the bit stuffing. See, 0 0 0 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 0 0 1 1 1 1 1 0 1 0 0 0. So what we are doing is, after this 5 consecutive one, we are putting a 0, then this 1 1 0 0, again 5 consecutive one, then we are again putting a 0. So what receiver will do, receiver will simply discard this 0 and take the value. Okay, let's suppose if this 0, if some string is like that, 1 1 1 1 1 and 0. Okay, so this can also be a data. So what you will do is, Whenever this is as a data, as we know, receiver will discard this 0. So what we do is we add an extra 0. Okay, so whenever this is as a data, we will add some extra 0. So we simply, if there are five ones are there, we simply add a 0. We simply stuff an extra 0. Okay, so this is bit stuffing. Okay, again, okay, next is your flow control techniques. Flow control is nothing but whenever we send some data to the receiver, so we just want to confirm that whether the data has been reached to the receiver successfully or not, or whether it is damaged or whatever it is. So just to confirm the data, we use flow control techniques, or just to synchronize the flow between the sender and the receiver. Flow control techniques are used. So two types of flow control techniques are there. Basically, two types of channels are there: noiseless channel and noisy channel. So for noiseless channel, we have simplest and stop and wait protocol, and for noisy channel, we have these three protocols. Okay, noiseless channel. So let us first assume that we have an idle channel in which no frames are lost, no frames are duplicated or corrupted. So two protocols are there. So first of all, we will take simplest protocol. So in simplest protocol, what we are doing is we are simply taking the data and we are simply transferring the data to the receiver. We are not we doesn't care about whether the data has been reached to the receiver, whether the frames has been reached to the receiver or not. We'll simply send the data. So get the data to data link layer, at physical layer send frame, and then these data frames are being sent like this. Okay, so what are the event: request from network layer and notification from the physical layer. That's it, only two events are there. So okay, for this what is this is a flow control. Simply request frame is there, then arrival, request frame arrival, request frame and arrival. Okay, so the sender sends a sequence of frames without even thinking about the receiver. To send three frames, three events occur at the sender side and three events occur at the receiver side, because one is this is to request a data from network layer is one event, and to get the notification of the physical layer is another event. So one event at sender side and one event at receiver side. Okay, this is next is the design of stop and wait protocol. In stop and wait protocol, what we do is we send a data frame, and then we wait for acknowledgement. So after getting the acknowledgement, we are confirmed that yes, the data has been reached to the receiver. So this is the simple stop and wait protocol, in which we are taking the data and the data frame is going to the receiver. Again, the receiver is sending the acknowledgement. So one event is requesting from the network, then notification from the physical layer. Okay, for one frame we are sending and we are again receiving acknowledgement, and notification at receiver side we have notification from physical layer. So this is the flow diagram of stop and wait protocol. Okay, request frame arrival, request frame arrival, request frame arrival. The sender sends one frame and waits for feedback from the receiver. When the ACK acknowledgement arrives, the sender sends the next frame. Okay, note that the sending two frames in the protocol involves the sender in 4 events and the receiver in 2 events. Basically, for one frame, sender is handling 2 events and receiver is handling 1 event. Okay, so next we will see flow control in noisy channels. Generally, the idle channel are generally not available. There is no existence of idle channel. So we have some noise, we have some problems over the network. So we will go for noisy channel. So for noisy channel, we have to apply some error control mechanisms. So three protocols are there: stop and wait, automatic repeat request, go back and automatic repeat request, selective repeat, automatic repeat request. Okay, So we'll see them one by one. Okay, stop and wait automatic repeat request. So whenever you are sending data to the receiver, so receiver is sending you the acknowledgement. So whether the data has been sent to the receiver, see, receiver will only send the acknowledgement whenever the data has been reached. So let's suppose, what happens if the data frame is corrupted in between, or it has not been received by the receiver, or what happens if the acknowledgement is damaged, or acknowledgement data frame has been received by the receiver, and receiver has sent the acknowledgement, but the acknowledgement is damaged in between and it has not reached to the sender. So what are what are the things we can do for this? So error correction in stop and wait ARQ is done by keeping a copy of the sent frame and retransmitting of the frame when the timer expires. So what we do is, at the sender side we take a timer. So whenever the frame is sent, a timer is started. Okay, and if the sender gets the acknowledgement within that timer, then it's fine. If it does not get the acknowledgement and the timer expires, okay, so what sender will do, sender will retransmit the data. To retransmit the data, sender has to keep a copy of that particular frame. So that copy is basically put into a buffer. So sender basically uses a buffer to keep the copy of the last frame which is sent. In stop and wait ARQ, another thing we use is, first we use is a timer. Timer is used. Second parameter we use is a sequence number. So see, you have sent a frame and it is lost and the timer expires, so you have to again send the frame. So it may happen that between before the timer of the first frame expires, you have already sent the second frame. Okay, so what we have to do is, we have to give some numbers to the previous frame and the second frame. So that number is given using sequence numbers. So we use sequence number to number of frames. The sequence numbers are based on modulo 2 arithmetic. Okay, in stop and wait ARQ, again we use acknowledgement number also, because the same thing may apply for acknowledgement. So acknowledgement is also in modulo 2 arithmetic, the sequence number of the next frame expected. So what is acknowledgement here? Acknowledgement is nothing but it is equal to, the sequence number of acknowledgement is equal to the next frame expected. Means if you are sending 0th frame, the acknowledgement for the 0th frame will be 1. If you are sending 1 frame, acknowledgement will be 2, so that you can transfer the second frame. Okay, so to detect and correct corrupted frames, we need to add redundancy bits to our data frame. Whenever we were studying that error control mechanisms, we have already seen that we have to add some redundancy bits to control the error. So when the frame arrives at the receiver side, it is checked, and if it is corrupted, it is discarded. The detection of errors in this protocol is manifested by the silence of the receiver. So what in this particular protocol, stop and wait protocol, silence of the receiver means receiver is not sending any acknowledgement. That means receiver has not received the frame, or it has received the corrupted frame. Then only it will not send you the acknowledgement. So silence of the receiver means no event from the receiver will detect the error. Lost frames are most difficult to handle than corrupted ones. So in the previous protocols, there was no way to identify a frame. In the stop and wait protocol, there was no way to identify a frame. The received frame could be the correct one, or a duplicate one, or a frame out of order. This solution is to the solution is to number the frame. When the receiver receives a data frame that is out of order, means the receiver is expecting frame number 2, and if you are sending frame number 1, 0 or 3, this means the frame were either lost or duplicated. Okay, so the corrupted and lost frames need to be resent in this protocol. If the receiver does not respond when there is an error, how can the sender know which frame to resend? So for this, I have told you, we have to keep, the sender have to keep a copy of the sent frame. At the same time, it also has a timer. If the timer expires and there is no acknowledgement for the sent frame, the frame is again resent and the copy is held, and the timer is again restarted. Again, if the frame is not, if the acknowledgement does not come, again sender will send. Okay, since this copy will be destroyed whenever the sender receive acknowledgement for that particular frame, then only the copy will be destroyed. Since the protocol uses stop and wait mechanism, there is only one specific frame that needs an acknowledgement, even though several copies of the same frame can be in the network. Error correction in stop and wait ARQ is done by keeping a copy of the sent frame and retransmitting the frame when the timer expires. Since an ACK frame can also be corrupted and lost, so it too needs redundancy bits and a sequence number. So the ACK frame for this protocol has a sequence number field. I have told you already. In this protocol, the sender simply discards a corrupted ACK frame or ignore an out of order frame. This is not sender, this is receiver. Receiver will discard the corrupted frame or corrupted ACK or ignore out of order 1. Okay, sorry. This is about ACK. So yes, sender will discard. If the ACK is not in the order, then sender will discard. See, if sender is sending frame number 1, then what ACK sender is expecting ACK number 2, because this ACK is nothing but the next frame to be transmitted. So if it does not receive 2 or it receive, let's suppose it receives 1 or 0 or does not receive, it will discard. Okay, next we'll see what is sequence number. Sequence number, it is a field which is added to the data frame to hold the sequence number of that frame. So what is the range of sequence number? We decide the range of the sequence number to, so that the size can be the minimum. So in this particular if let's suppose if we are taking m bits to denote a sequence number, so we can take from 0 to 2 power m sequence numbers. Okay, so assume we have used x as a sequence number. So we in this stop and wait protocol, we basically need only 2 sequence numbers. How we will see it? So see, 3 things are there. Let's suppose the frame arrives safe and sound at the receiver side. So the receiver send an acknowledgement and the acknowledgement arrives at the sender side, causing the sender to send the next frame, which is x plus 1. So x frame you have sent and acknowledgement you have received is x plus 1. So what you have to do is you have to send the next x plus 1 frame. Okay, so this is the basic scenario. Next, let's suppose the frame arrives safe and sound at the receiver side and the receiver already sent an acknowledgement, but the acknowledgement is corrupted or lost. So the sender resends the frame after the timeout. So here the number will be same, it is x. Okay, so note that the frame here is a duplicate one. Receiver already has received the frame and sender is again sending the duplicate frame. So the receiver can recognize, okay, I am expecting x plus 1 frame and sender has sent again this x same frame. So receiver will discard this frame and again it will send x plus 1 ACK. Okay, receiver will understand, okay, it may possible that the acknowledgement has been not received by the sender, so it will again send x plus 1. Okay, so here also we need only 2 sequence numbers, x and x plus 1. Third one is the frame is corrupted or never arrives at the receiver side. The sender again send the frame which is also number x after the timeout. So these are the three possibilities. So likewise we can say the sequence number we need is only 2 sequence numbers we need. Okay, there is no need of extra sequence number, so we need only 1 bit for sequence number, either 0 or 1. So we can see that there is the need of sequence number x and x plus 1 because the receiver needs to distinguish between case 1 and case 2, but there is no need for a frame to be x plus 1 x plus 2. In case 1, the frame can be numbered x again because frame x and x plus 1 acknowledged, and there is no ambiguity because in this case 1, this the frame x has been received by the receiver, and we have received the acknowledgement x plus 1. So there is no need to keep this x frame. What we can do is we can remove this from the centers buffer, and we can again send the next frame. So the next frame we can give it the number x, so we can reuse this number. So okay, yes, the frame can be numbered x again because frame x and x plus 1 are acknowledged, and there is no ambiguity at either side. In case 2 and 3, the new frame is x plus 1, not x plus 2. If only x and x plus 1 are needed, so what we can do is we can take x is equal to 0 and x plus 1 is equal to 1. So what we can take bit 1. Stop and wait ARQ, we use sequence number to number the frames. The sequence numbers are likewise, the sequence number is based on modulo 2 arithmetic, or you can say 0 or 1. Okay, same thing applies for acknowledgement number also. Since the sequence number must be suitable for both the data frame and the ACK frames, so the acknowledgement number always announces the sequence number of the next frame that is expected. So here the sequence number of the data frame are only 0 1, so we are the next frame we are expecting will also be 0 and 1. So acknowledgement number is here also 0 and 1. In stop and wait ARQ, the acknowledgement number always announces in modulo 2, it is same as the data frame. Acknowledgement is also modulo 2 arithmetic. This is the simple design of stop and wait ARQ protocol. So this is the sender, and it is sending the data, and again it is receiving the acknowledgement. Okay, so what are the request from the network layer, the notification from physical layer, and one more event is there, which is timeout. Okay, whenever timeout occurs, you have to give the notification to the sender that yes, this is a timeout, so that sender can resend the data. So again, at receiver side we have one event. Okay, this is the flow diagram of stop and wait ARQ. See, this is the frame number 0, or whatever frame number 1. This we are sending frame number 0, then receiver is sending acknowledgement. Okay, so we have received the acknowledgement, so again we can send frame number 1. So this frame number 1, let's suppose it is lost. Okay, so at some time the timer of frame number 1 expires. Okay, so it will again send the frame number 1. Receiver has received, so now receiver want frame number 0 because 0 1 0 1 0 1 in stop and wait we are taking only modulo 2, so 0 1 0 1 we are taking. So ACK 0 will be sent again. Okay, then the sender will go forward and again send frame number 0. Again, let's suppose receiver has sent the ACK and it is lost. Okay, so after some time the timer of this particular frame will expire, so sender will again resend the frame, again receiver will send the ACK. So all three conditions we have covered in this flow diagram. This is how the flow stop and wait ARQ protocol works. Okay, so but some problems we have in this is stop and wait protocol. What we are doing is we are simply sending a frame and we are receiving acknowledgement, and then again we are sending them. After getting the acknowledgement of the previous frame, we are sending the next frame. So this particular time is taken for one frame. So what we can do is we can send more number of frames in between in between this time. Before receiving acknowledgement, we can also send some frames. Okay, so that we can utilize the channel. So the stop and wait ARQ is very inefficient if our channel is thick and long. So we have bandwidth available, but we are not using it. By thick we mean that our channel has a large bandwidth. By long we mean the round trip delay is long. Round trip delay is nothing but sending a frame and receiving the acknowledgement. So round trip time is nothing but the total time taken by one frame. So what is the time? This is, I have told you, this is transmission, this is propagation time, this is transmission time, and this is the transmission time of ACK. So this whole time is known as round trip time. So round trip time is long. The product of these two is called the bandwidth delay product. We can think of the channel as a pipe. The bandwidth delay product then is a volume of the pipe. Bandwidth delay product we have studied in one of the lectures of data limit and performance. So the bandwidth delay product is volume of the pipe. So the pipe is always there. If we do not use it, then we are doing it inefficiently. The bandwidth delay product is a measure of the number of bits we can send out of our system while waiting for the acknowledgement. So what we can do is we can send more than one frames while waiting for acknowledgement. So pipelining is a concept in networking and other areas. A task is often begun before the previous task has ended. So this is known as pipelining. So in stop and wait there is no pipelining because we are only sending one frame and we are waiting for the acknowledgement, and then only we are sending next frame. However, pipelining does not apply to our next two protocols because several frames we are sending before waiting for the acknowledgement. So pipelining improves the efficiency of the transmission if the number of bits in transition is large with respect to the bandwidth delay product. So we will see the next two protocols in next lecture. Thank you.